Hey yo, what's up my friends? It's Dan Tom here, MMA Junkie Action Network. But this here program, the Protect Neck podcast, well, as I straighten my camera for you on YouTube, I host this shit show, as you can see, or here if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. Appreciate you guys for joining along. Not that I deserve it. Feel free with the 5-star ratings and reviews. Feel free to like and subscribe. Not that I deserve it, but hey, we are here. We are breaking down UFC Vegas 60. We're also going to be touching on Bellator 291. Not as much as I would like. That event definitely deserves your attention. Shouts to those covering it. I know that the Severe MMA crew are it's in their backyard over there in Dublin, i.e. I will be talking about the main event. Got the in-depth breakdown up at MMA Junkie if you want that for Storley Amosov 2 or Amosov Storley 2. We're splitting hairs there, but that's definitely a fun matchup. Again, if you're listening in the future, feel free to check the timestamps. I always give timestamps when it starts. And for the YouTube crowd, hello. They're not up there yet. Obviously, we're live, but thanks to the Jack Slack fan account for the timestamps there on YouTube, teaching me the ways. As despite looking young, my boomer tendencies make it very difficult for things that you think should be easy, well, for me to do, amongst other reasons. Well, I'll have those timestamps, of course, heretofore. We usually do recaps, shouts, and whatnot. Try not to get too distracted. Trying to give love and balance out the chat as well, which is another very welcome obstacle, but one nonetheless for my sensibilities, like how I did a little crazy sign there. I know, right? Jesus. Well, Freudian there, Dan. But yeah, trying to get too lost into that. Then we go to the breakdowns. We'll touch Bellator first, and then UFC Vegas 70, UFC Fight Night 220, UFC Fight Night, Krylov versus Spann. I'm just gonna do that high pitched question mark thing for like all these fight nights because it's probably just evergreen at this point. But we'll talk about that. And again, all from top to bottom, and as per usual, most shows will give you, granted, we'll give you winning picks and plays, but most shows don't do the recaps at the very end. I try to do that to you as far as, recapping my picks and plays in case you're short on time or, again, you don't care to listen to my voice, which I really don't blame you. And again, the results, I don't know how much you're missing. This is probably mainly for analyst nerds at this point and just hardcore listeners. Again, no fans of this show, listeners, no fans. But I appreciate you, all of you listeners, viewers at this point. We got the normal ones in the house. We got Ghost Phantom in there. What's up, Dan? Can't be as positive as Alvin, but I got to send you some positive vibes. Alvin's in the chat. Oh, man. Everyone needs some Alvin Yakitori in their life. I definitely could use some. The show could use some. But Ghost Phantom says, can't be as positive as Alvin, but got to send you some positive vibes. Can't stay long, but wishing you a good show. Thank you, Ghost Phantom. I appreciate your contributions nonetheless, sir. Hope you are well as well. Let me see. We got James Kendrick. We got my guy TB Scouting. Tyler, what's going on, buddy? Now I'm worried if I'm missing my guy Alvin Yakitori's comments. We'll see there. I'll get to your question here in a second, James. I'm probably going to try to share this out before I forget, even though sometimes maybe it's better because people jump in like, oh, he's breaking it down. Oh, it's a recap. Oh, he's ranting on something, isn't he? Oh, Jesus. But yeah, I'm gonna do that typical share there, and as I do that, it'll be actually a good excuse to see if my guy if I miss any comments. Again, I kind of upgraded my Ecamm live system, so upgrades all around the house. Hope you guys are continuing to enjoy the timestamps. I will pay the compliments again to the chef, which is my creative and amazing girlfriend. So I have things blasting in my ear now. I don't see it there, but it's okay. He's probably just referencing Alvin because he's always positive and always here. So that's probably what it was. Shouts to Alvin Yakitori nonetheless. All right, going to share this out and we'll get going. I answer my guy James Kendricks in the chat question. Feel free to add in the chat, which you guys will. Breakdowns and whatnot. I will, again, I'll touch in the beginning, touch in the middle before we... easy. Touch in the middle. Easy. Not in the creepy uncle way. I will touch on your questions in the chat in the middle of the program. Phrasing, Dan. And, of course, as we clean up toward the end. So, appreciate you guys just sharing this out live. Now breaking down hashtag UFC Vegas 70. when you've got the dyslexia and stuff there, or at least prone to it, you got to be careful. Got to read your stuff over and over again. Oh, whoa, what did I do? Is this show Wishing to the Universe? As soon as I figured it out, in swoops Alvin. Hello, Dan. I hope we can all root for all the fighters, even if you are not a fan of them. They put their heart and soul to put on great performances and should be praised. Absolutely, well said, my man. Love the positivity there. Appreciate that. That's what we need more of, man. This community, MMA gambling community especially, but really just the world in general, right? Let's not throw stones here. Although we probably will in a second, but no, it's all fun. And again, ultimately, we got to respect the people going in there. I'm trying to be better about that. We'll talk about that because again, let he who casts the first stone, and you guys know I'm definitely not one to shy away from being a hypocrite or for when I am and will raise my hand self-admittedly and be accountable. Probably have to do so again here. Oh, I will, but I mean in multiple ways that I'm kind of hinting to. But that being said, and I will come clean for being a hypocrite and guilty in all the ways that I complain about too. Like I usually do, folks. Keep that same energy. But yeah, man, the disrespect on fighters, it really gets to, especially when you see the stories for what they're fighting for. Not even the hypothetical what they could lose, which should be enough and is always true, right? For what they're doing and fighting for out there, and then just to see the same tired jokes, whether they're deserved and have substance for something that the fighter actually did, or it's like silly things like, and again, you complain about this, we'll get to it, but just like the whole, you'll see fighters taking shade. I mean, just the whole normal, making fun of gay fighters that, openly gay female fighters, and even if fighters that were gay, it's not honestly much harder. It's all hard, but it's definitely not a friendly atmosphere to come out in, right? So I don't know who would, right? If a fighter was, but like seeing fighters who clearly aren't gay get shade and thrown at them, and it's just like, what's the common thread here? Oh, throwing shade at gay people. That's creative, funny, very not typical in MMA. And all the like. So you just see stuff, and it just, listen, I get it. I'm sure it doesn't come from a neo-Nazi or a Nazi's heart. I'm sure that, the people that doing these aren't like ardent racists by the definitions of what, some people, may lean into the hardest rights of the stereotype. That being said, doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's not wrong. Doesn't mean it's not discriminatory. And doesn't mean it just doesn't get old. So try to be better about that shit. But yeah, to Alan, I'm just speaking on, Alan brought it up in the chat. We really all should try to be better, and myself included, raising my hand here. Just a lot of lazy crap. For example, somebody, he's using my digging. Must I don't know. It's like, do they have the anniversary thing? Because it just happened to be on the anniversary of my mom surviving this near death thing that's left her with aphasia and all these other stroke-ridden other disabled things. That's made life very difficult and whatnot. So it just seems like, oh yeah, let's go after this dude for that. Dude, look at me. There's so many things you can go after me for. Call me a nerd. The post, one of my latest posts when I got that tweet too is a post of me linking which, by the way, I had the challenge for the last year because from 2021 till now, and there's just been bad bets and bad results on my end. I'm not crying about it, but definitely 2022 and 2021, folks. Find anybody on more disproportional bad beats. But so now the challenge is of course, now that I start tracking my record, it's just fucking awful, right? So now that's the second challenge. Find me somebody who's having a rougher start right now. You know what I'm saying? And even people that are within the same neighborhood, they probably bet golf or football or a bunch of other sports that keep them afloat, keep them entertained. maybe keep the distraction from the pain, even if it's not going well. Where this is kind of all I got. Like, yo, I'm like showing my ass. Like, make fun of me for that. Like, that's fair game. Like, I have like really like with these, it's funny too because it was just like, oh, the old Dan Tom luck and just the kind of an extra peek behind the curtain as to why maybe this bad streak that seemingly should have been due, last year sometime to end keeps going. Not only am I tracking now with the Action Network app, I had some of my bosses, God bless them, were like, a couple weeks ago, were like, hey Dan, we really want to maybe think about using you, as a model for betting account. And immediately once I heard that, I was like, oh my God, I am gonna fucking not be doing good for a while, aren't I? If that's the case, because again, grateful, more grateful than most, believe me, in this game and outside. I'm prideful with how grateful I am, fortunate. Privilege, yes, but when it comes to circumstantial luck, circumstantial luck. Find me someone else who has PTSD from the anger management and Meet the Parents movies as me. So again, if you want to dunk on my results and whatnot, like just do that. Like, dunk on me. Like, there's so much there. But again, back to whether it's me, whether it's fighters, whether I know the fighters or not, like, it's just like, I don't know. It's like, I know that's the internet, but it's just like, it just seems extra low for the internet. Like, there's so many other things you could, like, shit on someone for, but that is the culture. And I think a lot of it just, again, really epitomizes from the betting and MMA gambling side of it. Because that's where you see a lot of these sickos, right? Especially with, like, my bad beats and bad things. Like, oh, yeah, even though, God forbid, I'm actually one of the few people that doesn't charge, am open, shows my work, is actually responsible, which is just like from betting broadcasts, from like DraftKings promos, to the way people comport themselves, from MMA gamblers to MMA gamblers with platforms, decent ones and small ones. God forbid, I'm actually responsible, show my work, don't charge, humble, don't victory lap. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. Don't get hit in the head, folks. But yeah, of course, anyways, of course, I'm the guy. But anyways, just feel free to dunk on me for that. But just, the personal shit, I was just like, Jesus, that's a low. I know I shouldn't be surprised, but yeah, man, I don't. Sorry, shouts. Yeah, I don't really get it, and it's not even like so much. I don't even care about the losing streak stuff because, like, honestly, guys, like, I think. I noticed it, like, even last year, like December or even like November, I would hit amidst the streak, I would have like a winning night, and then it's like it doesn't even, like, I don't even, not that I'm a victory lap guy in the first place. God forbid, we give those guys the breaks. Where we don't give guys like that don't victory lap the breaks, right? Come on now. But like it just, to be honest, like, I'm so beaten down by this game, like, it's like, it doesn't even do anything for me, and when I hit these winning bets, I don't get the jolt. Like, for one, I'm pretty level-headed, especially now, knowing my luck. I'm just like, people will be like, yeah, see, look, you're back on it. I'm like, it was one bet, relax, like, don't jinx me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys seen this game, A, and then, B, have you seen my luck? And that's going to be the annoying part, is like whether I lower my units and which will probably guarantee I finally get a winning night. But regardless of the circumstances, I will get a winning night and everybody will be kind. And I'll appreciate y'all for being kind. But really, I'm going to seem like a dick because it's not going to do anything for me. A, inside, and B, like, I could sweep my next 10 events and it's not going to undo the damage and bad beats that, from a mathematical or emotional standpoint at this point. Like, it just doesn't fucking matter. I'm going to keep doing my stuff and tracking my stuff and being accountable because that's who I am, and it's my job to still cover this stuff. But I've definitely thought about, we'll see how this fight night goes, but I've definitely thought about shifting content to, like, not even doing these fight night cards, like, unless, like, I were to have to shift over, God forbid, to any kind of, like, a Patreon or something, like, let you guys make some small threshold, and if it gets to a threshold, I'll go break down the card or have, like, a certain thing for people who could have requests for upcoming fight that I break down for both them and the podcast. But, like, dedicating and putting the amount of stress that I do and, like, when your family members, like, loved ones, like, use the descriptors of you let your work consume you, that's a really bad word. I don't want to be that person. And when I see how much work I put in, and maybe it shows, and people are watching that I don't realize, like people tell me all the time, and people in the broadcast from Bellator this weekend to the UFC read my stuff religiously, whether they want to shout it or admit it or not, right? And the analysis, even amongst this ridiculously bad streak, I'm having some stupidly accurate analysis, which is an extra twist of the knife, right? Like, I know I'm going to get the red light, but why do I also have to roll up to the yellow red? That pisses me off, Anyways, but point is, like, then just to get these, like, results over and over again, it's really disheartening, and then the work that you do put in, not even for stupid results, but just putting that work in makes it harder to do your real life stuff. And then, I've got a dog that I'm taking in for another cancer checkup. I had my mom's anniversary with her thing. I reconnected, with an aunt. We just found out she's going through stage 3 cancer right now. Aunt that was, like, responsible for, like, taking care of me growing up and stuff, like, close family member. So it's like, you see all this shit, and it's just like, it just reminds you what's important, We'll talk about the result. My guy Juan Camilo coming up short, but I was just so fucking proud of him. Like, the dude, he went through so much that I don't know about, but what I do know about is so much more than what most people would know or suspect. And then if going through a fight week isn't enough and cutting weight isn't enough, that you've been waiting 2 years through all these stupid, crazy injuries and suspensions for, that we touched on in the last thing. And then it's just like, you just see from, like, timeline from, like, friends of mine to, like, little shitty outlets, like, tweeting, like, cheap, like, cocaine jokes when the guy is literally dedicating his platform to try to save his sister who's going through cancer shit. And again, you listeners, I'm not fucking special. He's not, special in that sense. You guys all have somebody going through, like, real life shit, and these fighters are real life people going through real life shit too. So, not to start all heavy and shit, but trying to spin it back to the positive note, but also touching on what Alan said about these fighters are like, these fighters are real people, and so it's like, we make our jokes. I'm not beyond it. I call myself out on it. But let's at least try. If we're gonna make jokes, let's A, most importantly, keep in mind these fighters are people, and B, if we are gonna have fun, at least try to be fucking funny and creative, right? At least try to be fucking creative, right? Let's not drag people's family members. Let's not. Anyways, I'm who the fuck am I to tell you what to do? The point is, I just don't like it, and that's my right to not like it. You guys do what you want, but yeah, man. There's just too much heavy shit going on, and it's like, man, it's like, I don't know. It's hard to really get excited for these fights and stuff. I'm still gonna do my due diligence for my job. Like, I can't help it. I got notes. I got some bets for you guys. I'm gonna give you guys what I got. But man, when this is, like, real life shit going on, I don't know. It doesn't make the fights as appealing. Doesn't make me as tolerant to stupid jokes and putting up with stupid shit I see on the timeline, even from friends and people that I got love for. I just don't have it. So if you guys are excited, awesome. Hopefully that, despite my picks and especially the plays coming up short, hopefully this analysis is still serving you guys something. But it's hard to come on here when, like shit, it's like not even like the biological depression, which is a Tourette's comorbidity that I struggle with and clearly, have been struggling with. So I'm just trying to get back in the gym and just do things. It's been a crazy start to the year outside of, like, this betting shit. But, like, yeah, man, like, I don't know, man, just not being able to, having a to-do list that you're constantly taking L's on, having something stupid like betting plays you're constantly taking L's on, and you take L's other places, you just it's tough. So let's get off my fucking soapbox and get to it. Not an official sponsor, but I want to shout my guy D Loves _turmeric _tonic. That's TURMERIC. TURMERIC. Of course, that's the turmerictonic.com. Use code PROTECT15 for 15% off. Turmeric's great, man. I put it in my smoothies. I chop it up raw. And when I can get it in that juice form, especially with a little bit of lemon and ginger, Derek does the job for me. Dude, it's awesome. And I'm probably going to need it once I start getting my joints tugged on by all these kiddos again, getting back into Extreme Couture. It's another fun part about, showing your work and talking shit and, helps keep you online because, you're actually getting on the mats in a place where a lot of these people train and cross through. But hey, wow, Dan. It's like, well, who's cashing their bets, bro? It's like, yeah, I get it. I swear to God, if I fucking came on here with like a sideways cap and was just like, I'm the best, and I don't like recap losses and like just do all the other typical shit and like, I'd probably be so much more successful. But nevertheless, we go. Let's see what time. 21-1. We go 6-5 overall in picks at UFC Vegas 69. 1-0 in our totals. That was the only play we would hit because we got 0-2 in, what is that? Sorry, my eyes aren't really good, folks. I'm having trouble focusing later in the evening. Didn't sleep good last night. I don't know. 0-2 in straight plays, I guess. I don't know. 0-4 in it's offers. There we go. 0-4 in props. 0-4 in the round robin. Didn't even hit 1, which means 0-1 in the long shot parlay. I wrote here Riggs shout from last podcast. I forgot to shout my guy Drake Riggs when I was looking over. And maybe, I don't know if I mentioned this or not. Where like you could argue that she beat Tracy Cortez. We'll talk about Erin Blanchfield, who headlined UFC Vegas 69. But like, excuse me, I chugged like the last of my warm coffee before getting on here to try to up the energy for you guys. But she arguably lost to Kay Hansen, and I felt less crazy with those opinions because, of course, representative scorecards that I could find online agreed with me, supplied by none only than Drake Riggs, someone in this space, of course, I respect. So I want to shout that. I actually have the tab for the results. Look at me. Of course, Erin Blanchfield defeated Jessica Andrade by submission. We were on Andrade inside the distance at a plus number. What was it? Plus 110. And then we hit the under 3.5, which, again, the analysis for that proved right, even on a worse day. Under 3.5 minus 150 at 1.5 units to cover that loss. So we would have broken even the fight. We still would have came up on a loss no matter what. But the loss is extra because I added Andrade at minus 120 or 115. The number was just, stupid in my opinion and many's. And, of course, I was like the mush, man. I was like the mush. And I feel more bad for the other people that are on it than me because, like, at this point, again, I'm expecting to lose. But I'm like, man, do I got to, like, crash on my other friends' bets? And then, again, to make it worse, of course, especially with this, like, we'll talk about the short notice fight, which isn't 7 days, but what is with these, like, 7 days short notice fights where, like, again, I got my bias and counter bias. I wasn't betting it. It really wasn't a fight, two bet strong given the short notice, right? And people seem to admit that much regardless of what side they're on with Strickland Imavov. But, Strickland comes in and everybody's just like, oh, how did you not know? Why did you pick Imavov? Oh, it was a bad Styles match. Oh, really? Okay, everyone talking to me about Styles matches. That's exactly why I picked against him. It surely wasn't because it was on 7 days short notice. I don't know what the fuck Sean Strickland was doing, who was, a guy who got hurt doing a motorcycle accident is like the week before on his social media is getting in a motorcycle off-road wreck and laughing about it as he falls into rocks and bushes. Like, okay. And then you got, and which I gave credit for and even said, if you are going to bet Bruno Ferreira, it's round 1 knockout. And sure enough, despite losing most of the round and taking the fight on 7 days notice and never really being out of round 1 except for a couple times, never being even in round 3 much less to a decision, and now he's in the UFC in front of his home country. Of course that hits, and then again, I give credit to it too, so I'm not shitting on people who cashed it or people who would call these people sharp because I gave credit and even credence to that possibility beforehand. But again, that's sharp as shit, right? Oh, I guess short notice, I guess short notice doesn't matter. Now you got Jessica Andrade coming in on short notice, more proven than any of those sample size, more winning than any of those sample size, the most winning woman regardless of divisional sample size. Someone who never shows to tire, an athlete, so they've got that reserve. They always seem to be active, even when they're traveling, training, coaching. Again, the reasons if you were going to bet someone on short notice to bet them, you've got, again, the stylistic interplay. And I'm somebody who was high on Blanchfield as well. And it's just one of those classic things, and it's just like, and again, it's cool. Like, I got people that I respect that are, whether they're analysts, I got people that are like from the New York and New Jersey area, I got love for both those states, I got love for all y'all. But again, when Hawaiians or Extreme Couture people win, I don't get the victory lap, and if I did, I would get fucking called out on it, right? And the times where I do want to be fans and root for these guys and sit back where I'm too biased, like the Justin James or Juan Camilo Renderos of the world, not only do, not that it's about me or about this, but yes, not only do I not get to enjoy the full fan experience by getting to cheer on winners, you get to just, if losing's not enough, and if winning's not enough for other people, you get to see them shit on them for like things like drugs and gambling, which, again, by the way, folks, not my particular choice of drugs, and if you talk to my man himself, he'll actually make a joke about it. He's got a great attitude about his result, even though he obviously wanted to win. He's got a great attitude about this thing's life. Don't feel bad for him in that sense. Like, I'm just getting emotional here because it's just like, I just want, some good people that I know that I know will do some good stuff with their money to get the wins. But yeah, you got to see people like take shots at him for like taking a fight on short notice and popping on a drug test. Like, again, let he, and not my flavor, but again, let he who cast the first stone who doesn't do drugs. And again, I love the one, where they pick on my guy Justin James for gambling, because everybody surely kept that same energy when other fighters gambled on themselves and won. Oh no, wait, they praised the shit. They didn't. They praised the shit out of them, even though, again, those of us who were smart like us were kind of seeing the problem down the window when someone was going to get stupid with it and ruin it for everybody. See James Krause, and then y'all are getting mad. But no one was calling it out, win or lose before. Forget keeping that same energy. But again, why not throw stones at someone who's already down, especially for gambling? Like, what kind of low-life gambles? Audio listeners, I'm pausing and looking in the mirror, both for myself and hopefully for the proverbial you listening. But that's who we make. That is who we make fun of. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, back to Andrade Blanchfield, like, it's great, everybody gets to have the experience of rooting for their hometown fighter or the fighter they've been on, and for good reason. Like, Blanchfield has a lot of skills that I outlined in my breakdown. Like, I know I was talking a lot of shit on the matchmakers and the card format, and for good reason with the card they gave us last week, but like, there's so much to like about Blanchfield, and it just sucks. They buried her on the prelims up until this spot, and now she's getting her due, and granted, it's a little bit of overcorrection while what's getting lost in the shuffle, or gets just kind of mentioned and then passed on, is the fact that Andrade took this fight on short notice. And again, I do not like, especially when I'm on the wrong end of a bet, as the last time I want to say this, right, for something I rarely say in the first place, to say, oh, they didn't look the same, something looked off. I hate that. I hate that shit. But goddamn, is there any other time where not only do they look off, but let me cite myself doing something I hate and raise myself with doing something else I hate by citing Conor and quoting Conor McGregor. But if there's anybody that looks stuck in the mud, was it not Andrade in the first round, right? And I didn't rewatch it, but like, I'm hearing mix of like, people are like, oh, she blew her away, and I'm like, okay, well, if she blew her away, that's because she took it on short notice, and again, to my previous point, maybe didn't look the same. Not saying that Blanchfield isn't good or wouldn't have won anyways, right? But like, then you've got, and then you got like, people that I respect, like striking analysts going, she was actually getting hit. Even some arguing that striking exchanges, were actually kind of fairly even. Going from, your perspective as far as criteria goes on the heavier shots siding with Andrade, even though her optics were really bad because she was just, again, she looked bad firing and she looked like she was quickly tiring, which is just like not Andrade, right? But again, it was short notice. Like, so that is the lesson where I should have known better. And that's being rude or discrediting Blanchfield. No, man, I was giving credit to Blanchfield, man. I was giving credit to her. Again, the analysis wasn't bad, but the bet was right. Again, didn't cash, was a bad bet, and then I doubled down on it because of the number, and I chased the first time I chased and added, not even chased, just added all year. I've been like trying to be disciplined and whatnot, and again, volume bettors, ads. Like, other people can get away with this stuff. Your boy here, nah. I can't. So which is why I'll probably keep it small. That, and I don't know, man. Anybody? I mean, I know it's kind of an evergreen answer. Yes, my bookie is always fucking with people, but I've only continued to stay there because after that whole debacle, they gave me like a free bankroll to play with. So I've just been playing off that just for round robins because that's the only house I can round robin at. But I really need a new house to round robin because. Let's just say there's more fuckery on the MyBookie end, and I've been seeing just that chatter not stop. So feel free to hit me up if that is you. But yeah, so I don't even know if I'm going to round robin, which is good because I'm not hitting those anyways. I'm actually been having really bad luck, and even though they're like really small bets, they look bad on the stats, especially when you're losing your ass off like I am. Because it looks like 10 to 11 to 12 bets on the card, but you forget that like 7 of those are from the round robin long shot parlay, right? Because that breaks into 7 plays in itself. So realistically, I'm staying within my limit of no more than really like five plays outside of the round robin. But again, it lists, this person went 11-1 in plays today and is down. It just looks fucking even more terrible than my already terrible ass. Looks. So for many reasons, probably good that I stay away from the round robins. That being said, feel free to let me know if you guys know any houses that I can play at in Las Vegas. Again, another betting pet peeve. These people, bro, cash those bets and this and that. I cashed this, bro. Everybody bragging on the timelines or showing their bet and MMA tips like numbers and stuff, and it's like, man. Dude, if I had the DraftKings and FanDuel's round 3 or decision, or wins in round 2 or round 3, or wins in round 1 or round 2, or fight ends in split decision props, like, you know how much of a killing I would have freaking made? Like, I don't even use those for my betting articles because I like to be one of the few people that actually puts not just shows their work, not just transparent, not just non-victory lap, not just actually shouts other people out and not just tries to be kind. No. I actually try to put my money in my mouth is most importantly, too. And so through principles, responsibilities, what do those have a place in here, Dan? I don't even use those for my content in order to turn in an article, which would make it a lot easier. I could, even if I'm not getting to profit off it in my accounts, I could at least get to ego bump off it, which is not my style, I'm not doing it. But if I did, I would be much, much more successful. So be grateful for those of you that get to play those lines, and keep that in mind if you want to suggest a house for me to play at. Because I'm in Vegas. You would think you'd get access to good lines, but you get access to shit. Zach Pauga defeated Jordan Wright via unanimous decision. Everyone lost out who bet on this fight because of the way it goes, right? Like who was going to predict that, right? Which is why I just kept it small, even though it was a lean, and I still didn't technically have to bet. The fact is, I put content out there. I got a way better line than what was my article, which usually it's the opposite way around. So I was like, fuck it, let's throw, was it 17 or 25 bucks I don't want to see again. Threw that out there. But it's a great fight. I won't talk about it anymore than just to say that it's a perfect example as to show why it's about luck. Don't let anybody who's on a hot roll start telling you why this and why that and explaining and having, fucking suck their dick sessions, professor sessions, I told you so sessions, however you want to characterize it, whatever it comes closer to, it's luck. Some guys are lucky, some guys ain't. That's why I try to stick to the analysis, even though that's not really rewarding to your boy anymore. But again, Zach Pauga, Jordan Wright, like this is the kind of shit we're betting on, A, and B, look at the result of it. Like, you're gonna tell me that this game is about any type of skill, that so and so knows something that other people. It's all bullshit, folks. Jamal Pogues defeated Josh Parisian via unanimous decision. 30-27's in there. I felt like this was a bit closer watching it live, but again, I could care less. God forbid, I'm somebody that's actually sympathetic with people who bet things. I'm not, I try not to even do the thing like, I get it, and we all do it, and it comes from a good place, and we've all, dodged bullets, and I get that. But there's just also that whole thing where it's just like, not only do you win, you have to be like, by the way, shouts to the CLV crowd who really continue to kill my, aside from my terrible ass, obviously, first and foremost, accountable. Secondly, what kills my betting enthusiasm is the inflated lines, which I am actually blaming on the closing line value boys, as opposed to like the bookmakers setting the lines. Just the worst. Just the worst crap. Just the worst. Again, like, as if this game isn't volatile enough, we haven't even seen him at the scales. You haven't seen the media come out for like where they're doing their camp, who they're training with. Like, did you? And again, that's the whole thing. There's this culture on betting the number, and I get it. Although again, I wish those same people would acknowledge how much more dangerous those strategies, as well as any other strategies from other sports and other games, can be in such a volatile game / sport, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That MMA is. It's volatile. That's what the fucking definitely is. But yeah, like. Sorry. But yeah, like, just the whole, like, oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, betting pet peeves. Feel free to put some betting pet peeves in the chat, so it's not just me bitching. But just like, it's just like, oh, yeah, it's just like, when everybody's, like, measuring their dicks before the fight, like, about the line, speaking of closing line value, like, guys, like, this is a crazy game. Like, how about let's just worry about cashing the fucking bet first, huh? Rather than pulling our dicks out. And then the worst part about that is when it does cash and they, y'all have the right to do whatever the fuck you want. Don't listen to me. But yes, when they, air quotes, have the right, boy, do they fucking take it. They're just like, oh, not only did I win, but I got a better line than you, or I got a better line than the market, or, beat this by, a country mile, or, this or that. It's just like, oh my gosh. Especially, again, as a guy who just can't buy a win, like, you're like, oh, of course, winning isn't enough. Let's go there too, right? Like let's, like, oh, Jesus, or again, and then when they don't bet and stuff, instead of just like, okay, be grateful, you're cashing your bets, and you're not betting with this or that. It's just like, these tweets where it's almost like throwing shade, like, oh, good thing I didn't bet it, like, sucks for you, or, essentially, it's like, okay, it's just like, I don't know, it's just this whole fucking, look what I did, and it's just, I hate this fucking online culture. I know I'm a boomer, that's what I'm starting to learn, how fucking old and out of touch and weird I am. That's my fault. But, again, just like it's your right to do whatever the fuck you want, it's my show, I am me, so it's my right to fucking not like it. And I just hate this whole fucking, insert gif of Igor Pateria doing his Fortnite dance. That's like my betting timeline. It's just like, while my legends and things I care about and people I know and greater good causes and all these things fall down, it's just like, no, fucking young Fortnite, younger fighter, fucking hurting the contractual wage from Contender Series. Here we go, baby. Cash it. Like, that is my experience. So, yeah, again, this is another reason why I'm thinking about, like, not doing these podcasts, because look at it, it's just like me just, like, bitching and complaining and, like, I could be out working out and improving my mental health and state of being, and, like, I'm here doing this shit. Marcin Pragnow defeated Thick Willie. Like, at least we got a Thick Willie shout on the broadcast. Like, there was one silver lining. And again, Dan, you're being a hypocrite. Look at you. You are, you're saying that, you're saying that it's old that we sexualize pick on females and gay people, which again, why I don't know why you would defend that or trumpet that, but but look at you sexualizing Thick Willie, Thick Willie even called it out on TSN MMA show with my guy Aaron Bronstetter saying, y'all got some fetish stuff to check and this and that, and playing into this stuff, and and again, folks, I'm not gonna be. I've come clean to it before. I'll come clean to it now. I spread it around. I will say that, I definitely spread it around. There's no one type. But yes, do I sexualize, the men and make jokes like that are immature? Yeah, absolutely immature. Absolutely, I do. But at the same time, and I'm not going to play that card of I'm part of this race, so I can say this, or I admitted it, so it's fine. I can just move on, even though that is a real tactic of today. I will also add this, that again, with all the ridiculous sexualization that gets done to these freaking women, straight or gay, gay people in general, trans people, all the strays that those poor folks have to take, is it really so bad that I try to even it out on the other side and sexualize the men for a change? You know what I'm saying? I know I'm entering my own little spin zone here, but I'll leave it at that. That being said, I obviously wish William Knight nothing but the best. He say what you will. It's just again, just to show what class of the level of MMA bettor is. And what not a surprise, and why it's, again, who gives a fuck about me? It's not a surprise they're gonna pick on me. I wish they'd be more creative, especially when I'm handing them, low-hanging fruit. But you're gonna go and wish death threats on fighters, and fighters like Thick Willie, really? You're gonna go send this guy's death threats? The dude just lost half his pay. He's getting shit on. He's getting called possibly the worst UFC performance. Whatever bad moment happened to you that you feel you have to go and hurt others, I doubt that moment was broadcasted on ESPN or ESPN or whatever to millions of people and has to live on the internet forever, right? And the guy, again, he gets on the camera like I am to you. I'm not at their best, and just accounts for it, man. It sucks, but it accounts for it. And he deserves it, just like I'm sure I deserve a decent amount of whatever you could say about me. But yeah, it's just at a certain point, I sympathize him. It's just with him, it's we're really getting this low? Jesus Christ. So again, just really tip of the hat, MMA betting community, As much as I'm giving you guys shit with a lot of my pet peeves, because to me, bad losers are normal, but bad winner speaks volumes more, both good and bad. And it's just so hard. I mean, obviously, I guess I gotta say bad losers with the death threats. I guess that's gonna tip the scale to the bad loser end. But boy, I mean, MMA betting community is so bad that, it's neck and neck between how they win and how they lose. It's just as fucking toxic. It's just as fucking toxic. Alexander Hernandez defeated Jim Miller by unanimous decision. People I respect scored it for Jim Miller, and Jim Miller definitely did better than what the scores reflect for face value, and that's not anything against the judges. That just says more about our human nature of seeing a score and the way scores are adjudicated, and not realizing that a 30-27 could be a close fight, not just a competitive fight. Close. Competitive was when someone is making still a decent account of themselves. They're not getting blown out of the water. I think we should really change our language to competitive but clear, whereas we use close but clear, and that's confusing and wrong. And again, folks, just like everything else I said in this episode and prior episodes, I will raise my hand when I am just as accountable. I'm not throwing shade, because I too, in writing and I'm sure verbally, have used close but clear. But I feel like if we did competitive but clear and really understood what competitive was, right? I think that would be much more fair, whereas close is what you could be used to justify scores either way, even if we just don't really agree with them, right? And again, that kind of also speaks to potential problems with the criteria. That's another conversation, but for how it is and as it is done, I don't know. I feel like that's a language note we should all get on board on. And again, by the way, from these language notes to 10-7 language notes, shouts to my guys that I was just giving credit to, the Couchside judges, Dan Urban and Scott Fontana. But I will say, guys, if you're listening, I was right on the 10-7. You guys, it's a great 10-7 episode that I pumped on this show, and I will remind my listeners to go listen to again. But you guys came to the same conclusion that I said. You know, we're seeing everybody from last week, right, dump on the card, and people like slowly catching on, like to the what's up with the mindless heavyweight stuff? What's up with this? What's up with that? Wow, body work has been a real big thing. Like literally, so many trends in and out of the cage for years now. Who's been saying these things? Not first. I don't claim to be. I'm not that guy. But who is saying it for years to the point of nauseam, going on rants about many of these things that are finally coming to light and being talked about and acknowledged? That's the most annoying part, again. It's the fact that my analysis is on point for the actual fighting. For general sports trends and this and that, I actually quietly have a fucking pretty goddamn good record. Even just going on my analysis that's in that in-between realm of overall trends to fighter stuff that's outside, like fight week beats, projections, odds, all these things. Spot the fuck on. Chandler McGregor on the top of the list. Prospects on the way bottom that aren't even in the UFC. Spot the fuck on. But not cool enough to get credit for these things. And back to the luck. I'm not lucky enough to monetize, or make hay off these things, proverbially. So, extra frustrating. So yeah, just some shit. Nazim Sidjakov defeated Evan Elder by TKO doctor stoppage. Speaking of bad winners, I gotta give credit to good winners when you see them. There were good winners on the timeline that were admitting when they were lucky. People who, shit, if you had Nazim like I did, I mean, my pick is, even though I didn't bet it, my pick is considered lucky because he was, whether you agree with it or not, I thought it should have probably been 1-1, but I got to rewatch it. I did not rewatch it. Keep that in mind, so I'm not going to die on a hill here. But the fact is, for the Facts Bros crowd, right, Evan Elder was up 2-0, and it was stopped by a cut. And it should have been stopped by a cut. It was a bad cut. It was a legit cut that Nas was targeting and was going to continue to target, listening to interviews with him after the fact. So no problem with that, and Nazim should get credit for that because of that. But again, from a betting standpoint, you got to realize when you get one. So shouts to those who can realize those things. Chitara, Myra Buenasilva defeated Nina Landsbergen by submission, knee bar. Yeah, there we go. I probably should have had that, even though it wouldn't have mattered. I did so bad that even if the Myra Buena sub ended up on my round robin, still wouldn't have mattered. So I'm not, crying or complaining. But yeah, I actually picked her by sub, and she got the sub. Surprise, surprise. Jamal Emmers defeated Hussein Ashkabov. Really wish I did more tape study and refreshing, because I probably would have ended up on Emmers, but that doesn't mean I would have bet him. I probably would have still been scared to bet him for the thing that I said, so I'm going to keep the same energy and definitely not play hindsight. We'll give grats to people who were able to cash that Emmers plus money. Good on you. And I just felt good for Emmers, just like, again, you don't know what these fighters are going through, and I don't know Emmers' story. I'm not going to pretend to, but man, was I happy for him. Again, I didn't bet it, but for what it's worth, I didn't pick him. It had nothing to do with that, man. Just like, fucking be happy for these people. Philippe Lins defeated OSB Tennessee by TKO punches, round one. I thought he maybe could get a stop. It was a fight that I wanted to stay away from. I thought he could get a stop as I looked into it. Still didn't play it, so I'm not going to bump my chest. Not that I would. I'm just out for OSP, really. I saw a lot of people taking the OSP shot. I couldn't get there. I just felt like he was shot, and I was definitely rooting for people that had the ticket. I don't bring that up to make people feel bad and be like, oh, I dodged a bullet. Like, no, even though I had no confidence in it, in the bet, like, I was 100% rooting for OSP and every one of y'all with a ticket. My heart was there with you. AJ Fletcher defeated Themba Garimbo via submission. Didn't really watch this one too much, but it's like props to AJ Fletcher, because again, it was just like it's a crap show, but it, like, look how you get paid well doing the broadcasting. You're just doing the desk. You get paid well for that, and you could tell, like, Thomas would phone me back. I had mentioned me when we were one of the few people doing, like, when he was doing fighter profiles and scouting when I was. So probably just sees me as like competition and no name. So like, why give credit to the people like me? But I'm sure it doesn't stop people from the broadcast from reading my stuff. But Dan Thomas was definitely mailing it in. I forget what he was like. He was just like, what was one of the things he was saying? He was like, oh, I could tell he was like, Jordan Williams. He's like, Jordan Wright. And I'm not trying to pick on Wright, but he was just like, the way he was talking about it, he's like, this guy's so dangerous. He's on a roll. And then he looks down, he's like, well, he's been coming up short, but... like, Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, it was stuff like, I'm not even like talking about, oh, you didn't watch the tape Dominic Cruz meme. I'm like, I'm talking about, oh, you didn't just glance at the Sherdog record, because literally these were the kind of mistakes of like, all you have to do is just be able to glance and have somewhat of a memory. And it was just like, holy shit, just not even bothering. So hopefully, they definitely earn their money. And that's why I was really happy for AJ Fletcher just to call the broadcast and be like, stop with your lazy fucking like, I just hate that, and again, no offense to Johnny the Greek, who, by the way, when he was on that epic loss, who was one of the people, go rewind the tape, that again, I'm not beyond it. I laughed at, I giggled at the memes. I'm not going to say that I didn't or anything like that, but at the same time, you didn't see me like even like doing subtweets or anything at Johnny. But if anything, I said, you know what? I said, that's a tough job. And I said, I'm like, with my luck, again, even when I'm doing well, right? And when there's someone way down to punch down on, right? I didn't take that. In fact, what I say to you guys, you were on the tape, I said, if that were me on there, you guys could say I do a better job, a better process, and I would like to think that I would bust my ass, but I know my luck. And with my luck, if I was Johnny on the Contender Series slot, I would fucking go on the same losing streak that I'm on now as soon as I did anything for a public platform. Look, they're not letting me get away with it after the streak that I've been on, and even just on an app. You think my Juju, the MMA god in charge of that, running my profile, is gonna fucking let me slide on that platform? Hell no. But again, just like accounting for a losing bet and reminding everybody on why it's not bad, even though I lost money on it too, because the importance of eye health, and I was rewarded with some shitty eye issues for like 2 weeks straight that was driving me fucking nuts, because that's just fair, right? Yeah, I'm like one of the few guys that wasn't taking shots on Johnny when he was on that epic losing streak, and now I'm the guy on the epic losing streak. Again, to pretend that this is fair, skilled, or any of that shit, it's fucking nonsense. It's none of those things. It's stupid, it's silly, and it's lucky. And if I win, I'll be fucking lucky. But I blame kind of Johnny, back to my point with the AJ Fletcher thing on the Contender Series. He was the one that stuck it into a lot of the broadcasters' heads, where it was like, what? He has a reach advantage and he's the underdog? You don't often see that. Like, what the fuck does one have to do with the other? It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. Is it not that it's not important? No, it is, especially if the fighter can use it and you have a stylistic match where they actually want to strike. And yes, you actually do have metrics, although albeit almost a decade outdated, right? Because when did Reed's Fightnomics book come out? Was it 2013 or 2015? If it was 2015, maybe not as, but if it was 2013, we're almost going on a decade there. But citing Reed's Fightnomics, it was 6-inch reach advantage was the threshold where you saw win percentages tip in a noticeable portion toward the fighter. But again, how much even that number? Is it because they were out striking them, especially of that era of striking, that it was accounting for, right, in the book, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we still don't have enough guys using, like, jabs, feints, proper footwork, right? Guys and gals. So it's kind of silly. Clayton Carpenter defeated Juan Camilo Renderos. Carpenter. Sorry, I recently tried to revisit Call of Duty Zombies with my girlfriend, and I have that fucking thing stuck in my head every time I saw his name. It was like, Carpenter. By the way, what the fuck? I'm such a boomer. I was like, what's the new one? I'm tired of these old maps, because we tried to revisit it. And I was like, oh, what's the Skull meme guy or the Modern Warfare? I'm sure that has the zombies, right? I got the game. No fucking zombies on that game. Like, no even, like, co-op campaign for zombies or for, like... I'm, like, one of those nerds who, like, I would rather play the story mode. Which, again, that's why I don't fit in the timeline. Everybody's, like, Fortnite, fucking Teabag, I Owned You, kind of fucking attitude, right? Zoomers or whatever. I don't know what the fuck you call these kids, whatever generation, whatever. I don't know. But like, yeah, whereas me, I'm just like, it's about the story. It's about being through the technical moves, the banking, the grenade throw, like fucking that kind of bullshit. Stealth. Like, anyways, but I was like, what bullshit? And fucking, I think it's like Call of Duty 3, Zombies, whatever. Like, half the time the online thing works, half the time it doesn't. Like, it's ridiculous. And since I've already let this podcast go, and I'll just jump through the rest of it really fastly. One of the things I hate the most, by the way, is any tutorial of anything you need from a Call of Duty game, for like how to do this in a level or how to fix this problem. It's always like 20,000 steps, and especially if it's like how to do something in a level, you're like, hey, how do you get this sword? They're like, oh, it's actually really super easy. Okay, so starting off, as I'm already on round 15 and jumping through millions of zombie hordes, I still don't know how they run and jump through them. And then they're like, and of course, you just got to activate the mechanical dildo on the Elder Sphere scroll, and if you roll that down, you have to circle all the T's while like, it's really easy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Who has time for all this shit? Anyways, am I old, out of touch? Do you guys feel me on that? Gonna move on, check notes, and we will get to the breakdowns here. I was told there would be strippers. Oh wait, alien. Oh no, you guys are getting me to put stuff on the board. Is she a strip? I don't know. I don't even know where these jokes come from anymore. Like, does she just do the twerk thing? I will say that any pic that I see of this Alien Perez girl, she looks like she's either twerking or I don't know, going to the bathroom in the woods. I don't know what to call that pose. Like, is that where the joke comes from? Barton's back with Chris. Hi, I know, as you know, I'm new to MMA, consuming a lot of. Okay, I probably finished at 55. Sorry, he says, consuming a lot of media, I notice types of media, stories, and analysis. Which would you suggest to learn about the sport? Analysis, stories, it depends. Not enough stories are done for history and stuff like that, but like, you know, or profiles and deep dives on like retrospectives, careers, like that kind of stuff I love. As well as like up and coming articles. My guy Nolan King, shouts to him, does excellent ones over at MMA Junkie. And then analysis if you want to understand the mechanics of the sport, which is more what I try to focus on. Rio Sozin Truesdale. I hope we don't make fun of fighters like you said. Sorry if I apologize. No, don't apologize. I owe just as much of an apology if anybody, you know, as far as that stuff goes. I'm just saying a lot of stuff that just been really getting old to me or really kind of makes you think when you realize the real shit, you know, a lot of these people are going through. James Kendrick makes me really angry that people come after you personally for something good you are doing for your family. I know that's the weird thing. It's just one of those things. I'm not perfect. There's plenty of things to make fun of me, but like the typical thing is like you live in your mom's basement and you don't train, and it's like I've trained so fucking much and sacrificed my health for it, and I actually help take care of my mother and live in my own house. So it just again, I know I shouldn't respond to those things like I said in the last episode, but there are certain things that are just so principally wrong that, like, not only they're wrong about me, but, like, they couldn't have picked a fucking worse media member to come out with that lazy bullshit. I can't help myself. But, yeah. Says, also, I send you my best wishes as a representative from the Drake Grips chat group. Thank you very much. Liam picks fights. My favorite analyst in the game is live. Thank you, Liam. By the way, shouts to Liam for hitting one of my favorite chokes or trying to hit it. The Takeya Mitsugaki Aljamain Sterling. I saw that, Liam. I saw you, Liam. Liam has some nice work. Says, yo, dead serious, brother. You deserve to make a living for all the hard work you put in. You should be charging for access. In my honest opinion, yeah, I probably should. But again, as I'm coming to that realization and finally stepping up my stuff, again, just, you know, having a ridiculous losing record and forcing yourself to go on camera amongst depressive spells, to where it looks like you're, like, probably, like, close to having a breakdown, even though the fact is you have those off camera. It's, like, probably not a great advertising model, my man, Liam. Matt Joya, Dan, What's up? Jesus Christ, man. I know. Yeah, I know. Probably not a fun show to drop into. But yeah, I got Chronic Combat Conversations. Damn, man. Shout out to Juan Camilo and all the fighters. Yes. Shout out to them indeed. William Knight makes me feel the same way. I don't want to know what that means, Matt. You and your Black Rifle geese. Oh, my guy Ben Cohn. Oh, my dude. I'm glad you guys are well from the alleged Schmojo Schmorm. That was kind of funny to see people coming at you, by the way, with the things they did. It's a whole different thing to unpack, but if you want to see what I referenced, go follow my guy, Benjamin Cohn, Fight Site. I don't know if it's going to be on the Fight Site podcast, Ben, if you're doing that, or if you just want to follow him at BJJ Oversimplified for some grappling knowledge, would be great. I'm going to read the rest of your guys's later. I'm going to get through this because I don't want to take a break for me. We're an hour in, and let's get to the at least Bellator. I'll skip Amazon reads because I went too long. Bellator 291. The only thing, let's see what I got here. A lot of good stuff, so I apologize. I'm not going to have anything crazy for you guys. So we got Amosov store, Carvalho Kennedy. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for Extreme Couture's German Kennedy, but that should be, a fun fight. I think Carvalho will bring out the best in Kennedy. I will say that. So hopefully we get a really nice high-pace affair there. But yes, I broke down Yaroslav Amosov versus Logan Storley 2. A fantastic fight. The first one, big scramble fest, happened in 2020. We're getting the rematch. All the rematches in the world, right? I basically ended up taking Amosov by a slight decision. I feel like it's dog or pass if you want to take the shot. The over is a little juicy, although I did think about parlaying it with somebody for plus money, but I don't know about that. Especially with my luck, it's going to probably keep me away from it. I was thinking about parlaying him with possibly my co-main event pick, which isn't too much of a surprise for those of you who know me, and the fact that my breakdown for the UFC's co-main event is already out there. But yeah, Storley, got that. Let's see. But yeah, I don't blame anybody for picking Storley. Reminds me of Daniel Cormier. Counters in combination, pressures forward, small for the division, but his wrestling kind of sees him through. Scrambles, positionally floats well. We'll take a back, although he's not like an avid back taker per se, but just so good at wrestling to those positions and can really out wrestle guys, which was something Amosov found out once he started extending exchanges. Amosov really good takedown defense, also good from the front headlock, and I think all those will still serve him well, but I feel like he's just a couple adjustments away from either destroying himself for the later rounds or easily setting himself to have win conditions. Not easily, but setting himself up to succeed if he doesn't sell out for the front chokes, because selling out for the front chokes forced him to scramble, which he was good, and he's good from the turtle position. He does some really cool stuff that I like. He almost tried to do some things that Islam Omarov, guy that I'm really high on, likes to do. Of course, he's a welterweight, a little bigger, and was still able to eventually get safe and clear, but he gave up more than he needed to, expended way more energy than he needed to against Storley, doing so to the fact that by the third round, Storley started getting some of the better of the scrambles, started really getting in better striking, both because Amosov was tiring and Storley finding his confidence in said realm, as opposed to just frantic shots that he was kind of going for early. Since then, Storley showed a lot of striking improvements and gassing improvements. Both surprised me in a really surprisingly fun fight. Not really surprisingly fun, was going to be fun, against Neiman Gracie. Of course, has a different performance altogether, which you can't really blame him. Again, Michael Venom Page is just one of those fighters that it's hard to look good against, win or lose. Obviously, loss, you're getting styled on, you're not going to look good. But even if you beat him, it's kind of hard to look good. I know, obviously Lima has that highlight, and probably should have, if we were going by my guy Ben Cartledge's scorecards, should have got the second one as well. But yeah, hard to look good no matter what is something we can all agree on. So I don't know how hard you want to be on Storley for that decision, which could have been scored a couple different ways, but I do think they did get it right, as boring as it was. So yeah, both guys, and then of course Amosov, since the fight only had one fight. Obviously, it's been a war with Ukraine. Shouts to Bellator and their promo pieces. Shouts to, again, my guy Nolan King. He's actually getting in the Papist, with one of his pieces for Amosov's story. That is one of the crappy things about breaking down mechanics. And I'm not a journalist or a hardcore media guy, so it's not as big of a bucket list as like still trying to call a fight, which is something I still haven't done. But like, it is so cool to be in the paper. So I always just like love seeing any MMA people that make it over, and usually story people will get that, and Nolan deservedly so. I know the Fighters Only and awards in general are, again, Dan Tom Jerkoff GIF, but I do believe Nolan's going to be a future nominee and perhaps winner of that category. So I want to give my man a shout there. But Amosov fought Douglas Lima. It wasn't that impressive. It was kind of boring. He fought how he needed to. It wasn't a torrid affair. So even though he proved that he could grapple in route to victory for 5 rounds, it wasn't a torrid pace. So despite both guys proving they can grapple for 5 rounds, they're going to test each other's limits again, which makes it hard to bet aside. Again, plus money or bust, easy to make that argument. Not going to kill you for making it here, believe me. Even though I'm picking Amosov, I'm not going to play it. Even if he was in the minus 150 range that I like, I'm still not sure I would play Amosov. That'll be my pick. It's something I noticed too, that even Storley getting better countering combination, it's still a hard second that he goes. And obviously he's better at going first, doesn't do it as frequently. Still better about doing it to set up his shots as opposed to a lot of the naked shots that he would throw earlier on. Whereas Amosov, he already, before he fought Storley, and including the Storley fight, which is allowed him to punctuate exchanges, is he's good at going first and third for his counters, right? Storley will be triggered and counter in combination because he's already pressuring and going forward, and it's not long that you're either going to tag him and circle out, or he's going to get in on an entry and build off that combination. One of two things are going to happen, whereas Amosov, he can pressure and go off the back foot. He's a much more flexible striker and flexible in the countering department where he goes first and thirds. So it's able to kind of cut short, in theory, and Storley's returns and punctuate this exchanges both literally between the two, and sadly, more importantly, in the optics for the eyes of the judges, it punctuates those exchanges. So those little things will be the difference. It'll just be some fight IQ moves, I think. And so I'm going to go with Amosov by decision. No bets. Don't hate you for playing Storley. Don't hate anybody for trying to incorporate the under, but again, even that's getting way too juicy at this, or the over, and again, that's getting way too juicy at this point. I'm gonna see if we got any Bellator stuff. James Krause, are you a fan of Bellator's manipulative matchmaking? His words, not mine, where all the favorites get team matchups. Bellator has been much more better about that, and it's been much more competitive as they've grown, so I want to give them credit for moving away from that. And also, and again, shouts to my guy Rich Chu, who did a lot for me, reaching out for me to get me back in that Ultra program last year and reinvigorating my love and reminding me where my love lies. Certainly isn't in the betting, it's in the actual doing. So no disrespect to that guy, but again, I'm going to keep that same energy of things I've said in the past, where I would just do that, of course, with a wink and a nudge, as it was then, as it is now. It's all friendly, all love, but as I would call Rich Chu's old Strikeforce matchmaking, smash making, to your point, where you got big favorites. There was something to that, I like that at least, well, it depends. I mean, on the prelims, maybe not paying much better, but, you could argue they're at least paying their fighters and trying to get a result in mind, and they're not putting a gun in anybody's head. Whereas UFC, they don't even care. They're just putting shit matchups that mean nothing. They're not fun from stylistic affairs. They don't mean much in the divisions. It's all, just kind of churning of the mill, puppy mill kind of fighters coming out of the Contender Series to lower, just because they can get them for cheap. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's better. But I will say, as fair as that is a criticism, and one that I have also made here, I'm not defending Bellator, I've also made that. I'm just saying that they have gotten better, and that is a fact. Rain Lamina, Yaroslav Amosov took Oliver Krylov. Oh, Jesus Christ. I am like the Mo from The Simpsons. They keep getting me, folks. All right, guys. I know you're gonna hate me for this, but it'll make for a better podcast. I'm just gonna use the little boys' room. I'll be right back. I'm gonna try to get this little graphic up here. UFC Vegas 70, and we'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Hopefully the audio didn't shake out. Doesn't translate too rough. Last thing I'll say on was that 109, 40 bathroom. Last thing I'll say on that is I'm trying to go to Bellator Hawaii. I won't be the main person from the outlet going because it's not my duties. We'll be sending someone qualified. I don't know who. But, I like to go on as an extra. Usually I got to kind of pay my own way and this and that, but it's fine because I go visit and stay with family to save money and make the trip worthwhile in multiple ways, right? But, yeah, especially with my grandma not doing well, my aunt doing well. Hopefully your boy can go back there. And, again, it's not my job or whatever, but, I don't know how much it would influence, but if you guys want to, tag the, the junkies, the Bellator, I hope we get some Dan Tom coverage, and, tagging the appropriate people. That never hurts. I'll say that. It never hurts. My guy James Young in the chat says, I only play shooters in story mode. 111 back. In story mode, the real life Ronin. Nice. So you feel me, James. All right. Geez, I'm trying to get off the serious stuff, but AY says, "Hey Dan, give your thoughts on transgender and MMA. Rogan thinks it absolutely should not be allowed. What say you? Regardless if it's Rogan or anybody, I don't know how anybody can be absolute about anything. They don't understand, and I try my best to understand this game of MMA. So I weigh in on it, but I would be careful to weigh in, much less be absolute on something I don't understand. I will say that I have nothing but love for the gay and transgender community, and just kind of, again, when it comes to MMA legislation, answers, science, I do not have those answers. I do not claim to be. You should be skeptical of anybody who claims to. But I can say it is abhorrent just to see the treatment they get generally in society. Of course, it's no better in the MMA sphere, which is ironic, again, just like making fun of people for doing drugs or gambling or basic stuff that you let he who cast the first stone. But MMA always is a place for weirdos of all tracks of life where we all come and congregate, and we enjoy it, we compete in it, and it's just been extremes from all parts of society. But we're going to say that this one extreme part is fucking evil and no good, but all the it just gets kind of hypocritical, and that's my viewpoint. It doesn't have to be yours. I don't have an absolute viewpoint like Rogan, that's for dang sure. But again, I will keep the same energy that I said before in this podcast, which is this is a safe place. This is a safe place for not just degenerate gamblers, not just MMA hardcores, not just technique nerds who love the game, but anybody from just, Jewish Palestinian, gay, trans, like, just the fact that you're like a discriminated person, I know that's why I get called a lib, because like I, God forbid, have sympathy for people who are unfairly maligned and discriminated against in society. I guess that's what a lib is. Like, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, that's my opinion. I don't think that should really surprise anybody. So yeah, let's get back to Matt Joya. I'm gonna be honest. I think Aaron was a really bad matchup for Andrade. Yeah, and perhaps she was. Andrade was defending the takedowns despite looking stuck in the mud. And again, I got to rewatch it as far as the striking goes. That's going to be the tough part. Is we're not going to. It wasn't a reliable sample size, and now everybody who picked against Blanchfield will be looked at as a hater if we question it. While the other side, you're going to have people overcorrecting the steering wheel, going, "She's fucking Jesus Christ," which people are already doing, and so it's classic. So, but I respect Matt Joy's opinion, by the way. He knows a thing or two about grappling, that guy as well. So shouts to Matt. Thanks for being here. Let's go to the breakdown. 115. All right. Let's get this going. What do we got here? Hey, Benj boy. I know, good boy. He's still doing good. He's still winning the wrestling matches against his sister, but I just get nervous anytime we gotta take him to get checked in. He's my best friend, and people suck and dogs rule. All right, cats are cool too, by the way. I'm not a hater on cats. I've come around to them. Let's go. So shout out to all the cat owners out there as well. Yeah, this card is headlined by Nikita Krylov, -170, Ryan Spann, +145. Just taped this fight before we got on here because I just kind of pushed it aside, to be honest. I got lost in some matches that I wanted to break up, so I was trying to fill out the Southpaw report. And since I did the in-depths over at Bellator this week, because their main events are, oddly enough, it's usually when they're going head-to-head, it's usually we're doing UFC for sure. The question is, are we doing Bellator or how much? Now it's the question of, like, usually it's like, can I just do my main card quick picks? Does that suffice for this card? Because, the best matchups are probably on the prelim anyways. My editors are fine with it. So Bellator, deservedly so, will get that attention. So, of course, I do write up the co-mains for Action Network from a betting perspective. So that got precedence. I did a full comb tape study there. We'll get to that here in a second. This one did a little bit more select, at least their recent three. And then I went and kind of cherry-picked for certain things. For example, this feels like, I don't blame anybody for saying dog or pass or like taking a stab on Spann by submission. That seems like the way he wins, because Krylov, he's always been more, I think he's much more dogged, determined, even though he went harder for the wrestling trends after his first stint with the UFC. He still always had the heavy grappling urgency. This guy was a 2013 ADCC winner for specific / his region. Master of sports in submission fighting, combat sambo, Kyoshin karate, which I know is not submissions, more the kicks, which won't actually serve him pretty well against Spann, because Spann doesn't necessarily have the best kick defense traditionally, although there are some counters which we're going to hold that note for. Yeah, Krylov, definitely more of a gas tank, more of a urgency, a dogged to get after it, both of the takedown or individual instance or overall throughout a fight, even though he doesn't have that many decisions going, in his credit. I don't even think it's a lack of cardio. If you look at his fights and his personality, his style, all those things, they all kind of correlate in a lot of ways. I believe, at least. I'm of that mind. Not always. Like, there is no hard and fast rules. Anybody's telling you is bullshit. Another reason why I hate the, because that's true in MMA, whether we're talking about technique, especially betting, which is another reason why, like, people on a hot streak and they start trying to, like, hold court and shit. Like, the fuck do you know? It's fucking luck. Again, another reason why probably the only reason at this point, especially since I'm dead inside, no longer can feel the wins. Another reason why I kind of want to win, just to remind people how it's fucking done and how to fucking be humble and act like you've been there before and move on to the next. which is like lost and very few people do. Shouts to people that do. Obviously, I'm not speaking about everybody, right? But let's be honest, it's a majority of the attitude that is replicated and appreciated in the betting space. But yeah, it was Krylov's like fight IQ and those things, right? His decision making, and it's funny because you will still see him, even though he makes better decisions and slightly and has better technique and has better things to support these things, so he's not so susceptible to falling apart and he can fight later on in a fight. Because he's also had good recoverability. We saw that in Ozdemir fight, but that I went back to read my Francimar Bahoz breakdown back on mixedmartialanalyst.com, the site that hosts this here podcast, for the click-throughs that I kind of skipped and don't deserve to read through, though I appreciate those of you guys, and I will give you credit who did eventually when I get time and don't fucking run on with my emotions here. But yeah, we got what was I saying? Fuck. Yeah, it's his fight IQ. Even in a interview he did with Unfiltered. By the way, speaking of people, I love those guys. I love Sarah and I love Jim Norton. But again, just questions that not even any research, right? Somebody who actually did that job. So I'm not talking out of school. Not even just not researching the guest you're interviewing, but real simple shit not even aware Tatiana Suarez had cancer, any of these. It's so embarrassing. It's just do you guys even you might as well start off their interviews going, so what do you do? Are you I'm guessing you're a fighter. Why are you on here? They might, that is the level of anyways. The point is Matt Serra was asking Krylov, who apparently had a black eye going on in the interview, which is again troublesome because you can see a photo of him not but a week ago. He's already in Vegas early, getting acclimated to the PI, which looks good. Krylov is, but no black eye there. I talk fast, sorry. Aaron Bronstedt, are you still able to listen on 1.5 speeds when it comes to my podcast? But, so not only that, it's bro, are you doing shit in the last week to cause you to get a black eye? And even Sarah kind of alluded to that, asking him. And Krylov, through translator, granted, but again, just it kind of is part and parcel. It's par for the course with this guy if you've been following him. His answer was, no, I didn't get hit with anything. It was my head that ran into the punch. And sometimes those things happen and something else. In other words, I know it's through translation, different cultures. I did not get that he was making a joke there. I think that's just how Nikita Krylov thinks. I didn't get hit. My head ran into the punch. That makes it all the better. And totally explains why you're doing shit like that a week out, or maybe they weren't sparring and they just weren't careful, right? Jesus Christ, so it's that's what you got to worry about. But then again, Ryan Spann, we've seen him get hurt guys, and then guys hurt him. He's usually, you don't really see him get hurt and come back like Krylov does as much. Not only have we not seen him go decision or deep into the fights as Krylov, but when you look at the way he fights, it's kind of hard to see that with both the wildness and aggression that Spann can fight with at times. Again, he's got a great coach, Saif Sayoud, who's really coaching him and trying to focus him down. But yeah, or then even there's a stamina issue whether he's doing good or bad. There's stamina that goes right. His wrestling, not as much stamina and urgency as Krylov does with his wrestling. I would argue that the technique is, if anything, at a similar level, but not better, right, than Krylov's wrestling. And you look at it just even when he hurts guys, and Krylov will do this too sometimes. He did this in the Ozdemir fight. But again, he's shown he has the cardio to keep doing it. And if against a suspect cardio, this doesn't become as bad of a move. But yes, Ryan Spann will do the thing where he'll hurt somebody and maybe go for the takedown, or we've seen that. And again, Krylov's done that too. But I'm just saying he could arguably be better suited to do it in general and specifically for this matchup. So, I'm actually going to take Krylov to get it done in round 2 or round 3. I would love lines on that. I'm sure House offers that I don't play at. But even the round 2 prop at like plus 600, I don't know if I want to play that. Like if miraculously I'm up, and I don't know why I would want to add, because that's not my style, especially like the fact of like the way that things have been going for me. Like why would I do that? But yeah, like maybe I throw a little sprinkle there. I don't blame you if you're sprinkling on the dog or like Spann by submission at nearly the same odds, around plus 500. But yeah, I just think that Krylov's going to wrestle him. Now, the counters that I mentioned earlier could be problematic because Krylov does the thing where I forget who does it, but I break this down all the time, and I'll make references as old as Lyoto Machida Evans, UFC 96 or 7, where they'll do the power kick, whether it's from southpaw or orthodox. You power kick from your power side, and to counterbalance, you fire off the cross as your foot comes down. You fire your punch forward off of that same side. It's a counterbalance. It offers a kind of a cheeky shot there. Krylov spams those, and I get why, because he consistently seems to hurt guys with it, but he also leaves them open for counters, which is how he kept getting, his dick knocked in the dirt by Ozdemir in that first round. Spann, again, doesn't have the best kick defense, but you did see some really well-timed sit-down 1-2s in his Reyes fight when Reyes would throw some kicks toward the end there. Now, Reyes was already hurt and was already countered off punches previously from Spann. But Spann does have that. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have as much of a catalog or sample size. And even some of the fights that he wins, like the cute Lava fight, he's not necessarily winning up until he wins either. So it's just hard for me to have confidence in Spann, even though I'm a big fan of his team. And then Spann does the typical light heavyweight, or should I say now heavyweight thing, since Gane is doing it, and Jones, who'd said this at light heavyweight, is fighting Gane at heavyweight. Doing the light heavyweight / heavyweight thing of, I don't need to train. Because it just shows like how, again, like someone was making this previous point, like how weak some of these divisions are, where you can like through the generations have these notable title challengers and champions alike just notably not train. Like that's why BJ Penn was so crazy. And even looked up to, even at the time where he was admitting that he barely trained. He was eating, he was training 30 minutes a day and eating McDonald's in the lead up to beating a dominant Matt Hughes, pound for pound, great at the time in the rankings as far as that went, back at UFC 46. But those were just rare cases. And again, it had to be a rare dude like BJ in an era back then, like especially modern day, like who can get away with that? Like you only hear about it from the bigger divisions, which again is just like, just makes me even feel more for the lighter weight classes who have to work that much harder and to be that much better for their weight class, and in turn give us that much better of a product and just can't get the fucking rewards for it, right? Where have all the lightweights gone? They're in the Bellator lightweight Grand Prix. That's where they're at, But anyways, I'm gonna pick Krylov there, round 2. All right, 127. Main end. All right, we got Andre Muniz minus 205, Brendan Allen plus 175. I went through their whole UFC comb here to really get a good idea on these guys, and I ended up sticking with Muniz, which shouldn't be a mystery considering again, Muniz been a money train for me, so I have cashed on him, so I'm not going to complain there. But if this guy continues to do good, this was a guy I was warning people about, there's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts and there's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. There's a difference. He's one of the ones where you should really, even if you're someone who discounts the BJJ black belt thing, you should have with Muniz. He's a legit third Dan BJJ black belt. Still actively competing and even killing his own students in his own grappling team. He competes against them if he has to win first, like he recently still did. His wrestling is a bit awkward, but does some high-level trips and stuff that are a little more judo-like for me. Cormier sees him and respects him. But yes, certainly not the most bulletproof wrestler, and certainly has to do a lot of the wrestling in the first 2 rounds. Otherwise, it feels like it's more Damian Maia style guard pull, guard attack, which optically looks bad, but he actually has a lot of chains. He's one of the few guys who can fight off their back, who can give negative position with the bigger thing in mind. And really, I think he gets a lot of bad rap for the Antonio Arroyo fight. and turning it, which didn't age well. But you have to keep in mind that was the man's UFC debut, and it was at elevation, and he still won a decision, in a bad performance where he can't get his moves going, I should say. Something else I noticed was that, and again, he's just super opportunistic with his armbar, and he just needs this over the shoulder, not even an overhook, but it's like an overhook isolation. It's an overhook shoulder isolation. He just needs some variation. I like, what's it called? Fuck. What does Neil call it? Coach call it? Oh my god, I can't even think of it now. There's rubber guard, but there's what's it called? Shoulder pin guard. Yeah, which I like, where you actually you overhook over their shoulder. If someone's in your guard, I'm on the bottom. Someone's on top of me, and they whether it's an overhook or a Kimura commitment mistake where they place the hand on the mat, kind of a deal. I like bringing, if I'm going to isolate on the right side, I'll bring my right knee high under their armpit, and I'll overhook over their right shoulder on that same side. And then I'll, if this is my leg, I'm hooking my arm under my own leg. I'm using a 3-finger grip, not a palm to palm. I'm going to go 3-finger so I can really drive sternum into the elbow while this hand overhooks. You can, depending on what hip you're on, you can attack triangles and arm bars and such like that. And really, get that. He doesn't even have to be that involved. He doesn't need the looping through the leg. He just needs if this is the top of your knee, this is the overhook and his elbow-ish area. He just really needs kind of that basic isolation, and he's already at his angle, and he's got you deep. So these are very specific things that Allen's gonna have to be training for and be prepared for. Not that I'm saying he can't, just very difficult. Allen is 6-2 against UFC level southpaws, and that's kind of deceptive because he does pretty well against striking. He does. I know. Maybe he hasn't aged well because Puna hasn't had a lot of success as of late, unfortunately for him, right? But he outstrikes him in a match where he's in with the superior and definitely the more dangerous striker, right? Spams those body shots, but again, even for Soriano, that was still one of his more suspect performances, even with his work as of late, right? I feel like that's kind enough and fair enough to say, right? But then again, again, to give Allen credit, too, you look at his fight with, what was it, Chris Curtis even, and Chris Curtis gave him credit after the fact. He's you had some good, both during the match and after the match, even Chris Curtis was giving him credit. Because even though he got TKO'd in that fight and finished, right, along the fence where both of Brendan Allen's finishes came in that Apex cage, by the way. Both of his UFC losses, which happened to be by finish. But he did pretty good against Chris Curtis. He was actually throwing jabs, those body kicks, feints, really good feints. Allen does. Really improved his fundamentals under Henry Hooft. I will say that I think he strikes well with southpaws. He was getting countered by Alvi more than people probably remember in that first round. But again, Alvi is also a better counter striker than given credit for, which sounds crazy because with the streak that guy had been on and how familiar we've been with him, where we just felt like we were always seeing him at a certain point. But it is true. The guy was a much better counter striker and clinch wrestler than given credit for, which made it somewhat of a tricky matchup, which is why I picked Allen, but probably stayed away the inflated odds because he was going into that one last minute too. It was light heavyweight. Allen wasn't in the greatest shape, right? But he still gets it done. But here's the thing: is cage positioning, right? Both of his losses, which happen to be both of his stoppage losses there in the UFC at least, come from bad cage positioning. I'm not going to hold the Trevin Giles one, even though I watched that, and I think Giles hit him against the cage a bunch too to set up the RNC. That really shouldn't have been an RNC. The fight should have just been stopped way before that if you go all the way back to the LFC 52 fight where he lost by submission. I believe that's Allen's only submission loss. But yeah, his two relevant losses, his two UFC losses, his two other stoppage losses come against the cage in the UFC Apex. And again, aside from Sam Alvey, who lives with his back to the cage, right, and stuff like that, he looks like he is better about it, has more tools to take initiative, but it still doesn't take a lot to get Allen to kind of go toward the back of the fence. And you guys know I'm a big person on cage positioning analysis, and cage positioning analysis usually holds fairly well. Also, grappling analysis. I noticed that Allen, not as much, his wrestling has gotten better, but you still see him wanting to go for guillotines, I believe, as late as possibly the Malkoun fight, maybe even the Curtis fight. I know definitely as late as the Curtis fight, possibly even the Malkoun fight as well, but definitely the Curtis fight. Also a bad habit of dropping for leg locks. It got him cut open against Kevin Holland, who he still won because Kevin Holland gassed it with short notice. But he gave up really bad positions there, gave up bad positions to Chris Curtis, ended up eating a bunch of elbows at the end of round 1, despite having an initial inside heel hook bite that he really couldn't make hay off of. Again, these are bad things you want to do against a guy who's has that game over grappling that we talk about. Not just game over grappling, but game over grappling that serves as kryptonite throughout the divisions when we're talking about middleweights and upward. And, you know, a lot of Muniz is from back control, a lot of his stuff, right? That's when it's really game over for him a lot of the times. And if you look at it, Malkoun arguably gets close back controls, even though not full. You could really, like, split hairs. But the fact is that not just guillotines, not just leg locks, but another grappling habit Allen has is he will give back exposures in scrambles. And he's really good at it. He has a knack, in fact, I'll credit Allen for reversing bad positions. But again, do you really want to play with fire when it comes to third-degree black belts with the game over submission game, right? Yatko, there's meaningful grappling. He gets a nice reversal. He owns him there, doesn't give his back away. No real grappling against Alvi. Again, Curtis, the grappling that does happen, he briefly gets a back, but outside of that, his choices are, arguably get him punished against Curtis. No grappling against Puna Soriano, doesn't decide to grapple there. Carl Robertson was, he decides to grapple with Robertson, initiates it, sure, but it was kind of Robertson doing the reinitiation as opposed to the non-defending that gets him the win there. And again, I and many picked him to win by sub. Anyways, Sean Strickland, he gives so much back exposure in this fight that Strickland, who is not a jiu-jitsu guy, self-admittedly, he even puts a single hook in. Now, does he come close to taking the back? No. But again, does he even really want to? No, because it doesn't look like it, nor is that Strickland's is that really his MO, at least in these latter years, right? And he gave it so badly that even Strickland thought about it. And now what Strickland did instead was use it to score punches along the fence where he eventually got that finish. Dawkins, again, bad cage positioning. Kyle Dawkins gets to his back. Tom Breeze nearly gets to his back twice, but he gets so excited with it that he loses it both times. Holland gets to his back. Again, any of these fights with meaningful grappling, he's giving up back position, he's giving up takedowns for guillotines, and he's giving up ground strikes in crucial positions for leg locks. Like, it's pretty sporadic enough to be a justified habit. Albeit improved, there are still some deep-rooted habits there. Plus with the habits of cage positioning. Plus the fact that, I think you really got to go to this LFA fight, unless you count him like dropping, Soriano or Kyle Dawkins with that double collar tie knee. You got to go back to his regional fight scene to see some like one-stop power. Not that he doesn't have it, but again, that's really got to be the kryptonite for Muniz. Smart decisions, good wrestling, good counter striking, knockout power, and I don't know how many of those is Brendan Allen. So maybe I'm talking myself into getting toward the money line, but I didn't quite make it. I took Muniz by sub at 3/4 units for a unit return. And then I took round 2 sub at plus 600 for 0.17 U. Of course, that returns well over a unit if that hits. Thought about parlaying Muniz with the over 4.5 Amosov and Storley for plus money. Kick for coverage each way because Muniz could win a decision here. That Brendan Allen, again, outside of that Jay Giles time when I explained he really hasn't been subbed. He's a black belt himself for what that's worth. Trains with high-level guys for what that's worth. So I could come up empty even though having the right guy and having the analysis. So we'll see if I do anything with the Muniz money line. But right now, that's all I got. Let's go. Liam fight picks. Muniz by sub. Sharp, in my opinion. I feel much better if you're saying that, Liam, as a guy who wrestles and grapples and does submissions himself, my friend. All right. So we got Augusto Sakai minus 135, Sakai-Mayes plus 115. Again, death taxes and low-level heavyweight fights, fat, sweaty heavyweight fights on main cards. And, I'm seeing a bunch of people post about this fight, and I'm like, why are we even betting this fight? Classic MMA gambling Twitter. We're all going to fucking get all up in arms and contentious about fights that we really shouldn't be fucking betting on and giving it attention to as a viewer, much less betting on. But of course, those are the volatile fights we're going to bet on. And if those cash, instead of counting our graces and just being lucky, being grateful, and maybe, God forbid, moving on to the next, no, we gotta toot our own horn, talk about I told you so. Another reason why I absolutely love MMA gambling Twitter, as you guys can clearly tell. That being said, minus 135 is a good line on Sakai, in my opinion, without even researching this matchup. Again, I haven't researched it yet. I do got to look into this fight. I'm not looking into betting it, so I didn't research it as far as making a cut for the podcast, but I will have to research it by tomorrow when I do my main card write-up and submit it for fight day, right? Do it on Friday, and it comes up on fight day. Look inside the process there. But that being said, even though I missed the plus money boat on Sakai, because again, you closing line people, it's like, oh, you bastards, really killing my betting enthusiasm. So jealous of you guys. But yeah, I missed the plus money, but I don't get it. Sakai is not at the level of Mayes. I don't think Mayes is going to be able to. Just takedown trends that I can remember are going to be able to outlast Sakai. Whereas grappling savvy, Sakai's like a legit brown belt. You have to be like legit Sergey Spivak. Again, I was silly for picking Spivak in that spot, and that aged well, right, with the round 2 there. But now Spivak's getting the credit, even though I was wrong about Spivak's last one. But again, just because I'm wrong on that Spivak one or this Blanchfield one doesn't mean I wasn't absolutely respecting, even picking, even cashing on the fighters prior. It's a matchup game, and you take your shots, folks. But yeah, I shouldn't bet this fight, so I probably won't. We'll see. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Sakai for what that's worth. This fight, I definitely did the research on because it was a part of the Southpaw Report, and even though it's ridiculous inflated lines, I don't even want to say by the CLV crowd because the odd setters opened it at minus 700, so it really has only gone up 50 cents, which I'm assuming are just solely parlays. In that case, really hasn't gone up a lot. But yeah, you got Tatiana Suarez minus 750, Montana De La Rosa plus 550. I love Montana De La Rosa, man. I just feel bad that she always gets in these spots, And she is tough and more tougher than she gets credit for. She's more technical and more fundamentally sound than given credit for. And I love that. I'm all about that. She's trying to get goofy there on her Instagram, doing like an Australian accent. And it was a bit awkward, but I fucking love it, man. I love a girl that can get goofy like that, She's looks like she's a good mom. She's got her short king, Mark De La Rosa there. Shouts to him. I'm not even though I feel like I've got that short king energy, I don't know, 5'9", I'm average. Although, I don't know, no, I'm not average anymore, not since Tinder was invented. I am now short. 5'9", but, which is fine, but, I'm not too far off from my short kings there, I guess, so I've got love for them. Break down the fight. But yeah, I'm just trying to say that I got love for Montana De La Rosa. I just hate this spot for her. I really do. And I'm kind of surprised. Maybe she's not getting dissed as the odds would expect, because I was like, why is it plus 110 for inside the distance Tatiana Suarez? And I go research it, fully expecting that, again, I'm like, oh, there's no way the CLV boys missed that. It'll probably, with my luck, it'll be even money or minus money by the time I finish my research, because, Dan got to do due diligence, because that matters, right? But I do my due diligence, and I'm pretty confident, and the line actually improved plus 115 inside the distance, so I took that. Tatiana Suarez, a whole unit for plus 115, and I also played round 3 plus 1,000, 0.17U, baby. I found that number at BetMGM. Not as good of a number on the Bet Online houses that I play at. But yeah, basically is that even though Montana De La Rosa can take a lot of damage, like she shouldn't be taking a lot of damage in some of these fights. Like, we watched a fight against Southpaw. She's 1-0 against UFC level Southpaws, Nadia Kassem. Obviously, that doesn't represent the tough matchup against Nico Montano, where she lost in the house, but that's also the tough house. And again, Southpaw refers to mainly stance dynamics of striking, when this one's obviously going to hinge, like most Tatiana Suarez fights, on the grappling. But in that Southpaw sample, when you go to the Nico Montano fight, it's really similar to the Mayra Buena-Silva, a fight that I can't believe. How did I not cash Mayra Buena-Silva in that fight? Like, she beat the piss out of her. I know she got the stupid point deduction or whatever, right? But, like, remind me how that fight was not, how did I lose that bet? Because it's 3 rounds worth where, like, I don't know if Montana really should have been subjected to that. And if I do lose the bet, it's going to be, unfortunately, someone who I like, Montana De La Rosa, who doesn't show damage very well, folks. She's going to be all blown up. And it's going to be a fight that probably shouldn't have been stopped, but they don't stop it, right? That's probably how I will lose this bet. But suspect scores and suspect non-stoppages, which aren't really that suspect, sadly, because they just don't happen in this sport. Aside, if you really look at it, aside from the damage that she takes, this and that, Montella, I keep thinking she's a former strawweight because she has that energy when she fights where, again, she's more tougher than given credit for. She's more technical than given credit, more fundamentally sound than given credit for, Montana De La Rosa. But when she's seeing her against these flyweights in her UFC sample size fights, I get the feeling, it feels like I'm watching a strawweight who moved up in an ill-advised moved up and is just getting muscled around to the point where she is just exhausted. And not even because I suspect she has bad cardio, because I don't. I wouldn't. I didn't then. I don't now. But she just looks so physically outmatched that she is just exhausted by the time round 3 comes around. In these fights, and she's taking damage and wearing it too. So part of me was just like, oh my god. And you look at like what Tatiana Suarez was able to do to Carla Esparza. I know you're like, oh, but she went to decision with Viviana Pereira and Nina Ansaroff. Nina Ansaroff fight much more excusable. She went into that fight injured. I don't even know how much we should really take off of that. Not only, was it off the layoff before she made the camp change to Extreme Couture, which is the big wild card here. She was injured in that fight. And Ansaroff, again, you want to talk about fighters more tougher, more technically sound, more fundamentally sound, even better grappler and defensive grappler than given credit for. That's Nina Ansaroff. And I know it didn't age well after that fight when she comes back after a long layoff and fights Mackenzie Dern, who actually decides to go for a single leg for once in her life. Like, again, you really got to take that Ansaroff sample size with a grain of salt. The Viviane Pereira sample size, that's early on in her UFC career. She was really disappointed, and again, there could have been stuff that we don't know about that fight, and B, again, despite sounding like I'm crying over spit milk, as somebody who was preaching and waving the Erin Blanchfield flag as far as like defending her from criticism despite not picking her, which was people saying, oh, Blanchfield went decision with so-and-so and so-and-so, and I was pointing out the fact that Blanchfield her process is so solid that, yeah, she went to decision, but if you look at it, she was almost getting finishes at the very end of the rounds. You could argue the opponents were saved by the bell. Not as clear as a Blanchfield example there, but it was kind of similar theme when you go watch that. Like, she was really going for it. I think she finishes the end of round 3 with a nearly armbar locked in, and she's like pissed at herself that she didn't get the finish, And now she's training with, she's in a really good camp, good headspace, good relationship with Patchy Mix, who it's like, man, what a super couple that is, right? Like, especially for her style, like they're both just like insane wrestling, getting to the back, getting the dominant position, and making opponent's life miserable. Slightly different style, but a lot of similar thematic choices. And she's working, again with a gym like Extreme Couture. Getting grappling rounds in around town, 10th Planet, working with a lot of female pros, male pros, I'm not in her business, nor do I try to be or play that inside information game. Again, that's not my style here, folks. But yeah, everything I've seen or heard, it's been good. So it's like, surprise, surprise, minus 750, right? I'm not telling you anything crazy there. But yeah, for these reasons, and even with the technical intricacies, like, it's one of those things like Montana De La Rosa's coaches. She coaches her daughter's wrestling coach, as well, but her accolades aren't the same as what Suarez was, and the physicality and the style. I think she can know that Suarez favors that single leg all day, and I don't know if it's going to matter, because another thing that Suarez does really well is she grabs wrists a lot, which hence, again, more of the reason why she would get the Khabib comparisons, right? She fights wrists a lot. And something I noticed, even just in Montana-De La Rosa's last fight with Macy Barber, was that not only, obviously, Montana-De La Rosa can get stuck up against the fence and can get stuck into these clinch wars and all these ugly fights that's going to suit Suarez, but, like, at least once a round, in every round, they weren't even that clever of wrist grips, but she allowed Barber to grab her wrists in multiple different ways and get off strikes, both standing, in the clinch, and on the floor in every round. Like, if you're going to let Barber grab your wrists and hit you, like, that's bad news if you're fighting Tatiana Suarez. So I essentially think that it's too hard to pick a TKO or submission if you do think Suarez is going to get the stoppage, which is, again, why I'm surprised Inside the Distance isn't gotten hammered more. But I think that she's going to have to. I think it's going to get to the point where she forces a stoppage. Montana isn't even training at Elevation for this one. It doesn't look like. She looks like she's been back at home training at Texas for this one, not up at Factory X, not in Elevation. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just what's showing on her Instagram, where she's pretty active. So she looks like she's back home in Texas. So yeah, give me Suarez 1 unit Inside the Distance plus 115, and round 3 plus 1,000. On the end, 151 Suarez, and I'll try to go through the rest of these fast. I don't know why Mike Malott minus 215 and Johan-Linus plus 185 is on the main card, but it is, and I'll have to watch tape on that because I'll have to write it up. I'm hoping they don't go back to 6-fight main cards. I hope Tapology is wrong and the UFC is right, which I'm guessing the UFC is right because they should be. It's their organization. And B, if they did a 6-fight card, it means they would be opening it in the lightweight division, and they don't like to do that unless they have to. I mean, we were lucky we even got Jim Miller and Alexander Hernandez to open up the card the other week, and that was, a no-brainer, and an injury, unfortunately, probably caused that, let's be honest. But yeah, we got Ghost Pepper Gonzalez plus 160, Trevor Peek minus 190. No clue at either of these fighters. We'll see if I even get around to it. I did look at this one. I was answering my guy Garrett Kerman's on the Southpaw Report, and I believe it was only one with meat on it because I don't think the other Southpaws dance partners have the UFC level experience. There'll be much to say. Though you could say the same thing about this, and there was stuff to say, which is Jasudivicius, who is plus 105, Gabriela-Fernandes minus 125. Gabriel's a southpaw who opened as a dog and is taking this fight on short notice. Again, short notice fight, but it went from Sharp being on short notice, or then it was Sharp for betting against short notice. You dummy! All of a sudden, right? Like last week with Andrade Blanchfield. Now we're back to Sharp is betting on the short notice fighter again. Now it's not 7 days short notice; it's only 3 to 4 weeks short notice. And Gabrielle Fernandez does look like she keeps herself in decent shape. But this girl hadn't even fought on Contender Series. I know she's an LFA champ, but you look at those two fighters who she beat and their records and who they fought, and the fact that they fought each other and they all built their record off this little really kind of broken bad circuit. I don't know how valuable that is, especially not just the fact that you could throw shade at said sample size of circuit regardless of a win-loss record, but the fact that regardless of the level of said opponent, we don't have a sample size of her shooting a shot, which again, say what you will about Montana-De La Rosa, or say what you will about Jasudivicius, Canada, USA, women's level, whatever you want to throw, there are still very few women that have actual wrestling credentials that came up doing it and can do it somewhat competently. And Jasudivicius, is she a world beater in that department? Will she be a world beater, a top 10, a top 5? I'm definitely not trying to say any of that, but can she competently shoot takedowns? Has she been there before? Is she an athlete and is she physical? Yes, she is. Now, she may usually use that to her advantage, and she's not going to have that. She's only going to have about an inch in the height edge. It's pretty going to be a practically even size parity with Gabriela-Fernandes being the more athletic specimen, right? And again, maybe that's it. You know how MMA bettors are. Young fighter, striker, athlete, older person. Oh, they can't handle themselves, you know. Oh, my goodness. Death taxes and MMA gamblers just fading the older faces, right? But again, with the way that this opened, like, it opened, not that anybody should be widely favored or anything, but, like, I felt like the line was respectable. And yet all this money comes in to push Gabriela-Fernandes all the way to a minus 125. Again, this is probably another classic MMA Twitter, MMA gambling Twitter shit where everybody's arguing fucking before the fact when really none of y'all should really be placing money on this. And then if Gabriela does win, of course, everybody's going to be like, I tell you so, short bet, got it at plus money, beat the line, CLV. Oh, what a joy that must be. Anyways, yeah. So for that reason, short notice, I'm gonna pick the fighter who's not on short notice. I'm gonna pick the fighter who trains with actual UFC level fighters at a major camp like American Top Team. I'm gonna pick the grappler like I have been and got away from during the Spivac-Lewis fight night that really fucked me up. I'm gonna stick to my trend here. If you guys notice, I'm picking dominant grapplers in the small cage, right? I could lose my bets, and that's probably a very likely possibility with how I bet. But again, folks, I'm taking the dominant grapplers in the small cage. And now Jasudivicius, even though that plus number is tempting, and I would love to take it, just so I could cash it and rub it in the faces of all the motherfuckers who rub all these stupid fights that you shouldn't be betting in on. But I would be an outright hypocrite, and I definitely don't have the juju or the luck to take those shots. So I'm not, but I am going to pick that fighter. And no offense, and I know I don't like the dodge that or making people feel bad in any way. I'm one of the few guys that even when I'm excited, I'll still include in the victory tweet that I hope the other person's okay, and I don't victory lap further than that or anything like that. Any of that bullshit. Like, yeah, like, sorry, I don't know where I'm going with this, but like, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, but yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick Jasudivicius, and I will be happy if she wins, just because that shit shouldn't be rewarded. You should not be, again, I know I was wrong on all these examples, but I'm going back to sticking on my guns against, you should not be super confident on short notice fighters. In what's already a volatile sport, and I hate seeing this shit rewarded. And I like what I saw from Gabriela-Fernandes, but we don't know what she's got on the ground. And when she was on the ground, I didn't like it. She looked frustrated by not very good or very big fighters after not very long on the ground. And the only way she was able to get up was going for a sloppy heel hook off of half guard, which is one of my go-tos. But it just didn't look good. It didn't look confident. It didn't look like high percentage. I didn't like any of the other things. She's a real athlete. She surfs. She comes from Taekwondo, so she's got really good leg dexterity, which means she would rather re-guard than actually get up. I didn't see any get-ups. I didn't see any takedown defense. She has good footwork that may keep her out of range, but again, she's in the small cage here. Like, I feel like Jazz just has to wrestle. I'm not that impressed with her. She did have a propensity, back to the Southpaw report, to get hit with counter jabs from Elise Reed, counter lefts from Kay Hansen, left kicks from Natalia Silva. So all these things are present. So maybe from a Southpaw, does that translate? We'll see. I'm not going to bet on it, but I'm going to pick Jasudivicius to grind her way to a decision. Jordan Leavitt is a Southpaw, minus 105. Victor Martinez, minus 115. Leavitt, did he open as the favorite? I'm trying to find out if these things will even pop up for me. Of course, it's going to be the pain in the ass, not pop up when I need it. But Victor Martinez, I don't believe, has any experience against UFC level Southpaws. So I don't even think it matters. Let's see. Let me go. I already scanned through his record once, I believe. I didn't see anything there. I don't know if Jacob Rosales was a Southpaw. I have to go back and look at that. He was scheduled to fight Ted Krylov, who will switch his stance, but primarily an orthodox fighter. And, yeah, a lot of red on this record. Is he short notice? I'm guessing he was short notice. Wow, they tried to make this fight a few times. Martinez withdrew the first time. Maybe they're really trying to get Leavitt a win after, doing them a solid with the Patty fight or whatnot. Yeah, I'll I'll take Leavitt. I don't know if people are fading him because, again, that's a fighter that people like to make fun of. I don't even know Leavitt. He actually beat a friend of mine in the amateurs, Tyler Noss, old training partner of mine. But I don't know. People always give that guy like stupid shit too. All right, next fight. We got Southpaw Ode Osbourne plus 145. Charles Johnson, despite stepping in on short notice, is the favorite. Let's see if he opened that way. Leavitt was minus 125, but again, are people fading him because there's something stylistic there, or are they fading Jordan Leavitt because he's effeminate and that's he's effeminate in their eyes, and that's fucking hilarious? Apparently, I don't know. You tell me. I don't know if I'll get to that matchup. Charles Johnson, he you gotta look. I still haven't looked at his UFC level southpaw experience. I don't believe he has any unless Muhammad Mokaev fights from a southpaw stance. Even if he does, which I'm not sure he does, obviously that fight was mainly spent with Mokaev pushing him against the fence. So I'm not sure what we can get from that. Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who, again, I thought won. I'm going to have to go through the pain of watching that again, I guess. Maybe we'll see if I do. But it would be worth doing so because Zhalgas will occasionally fight from southpaw and switch his stance as well, folks. So that's what I would be looking for. The Jimmy Flick fight didn't last long, ended on the ground, ended prematurely, arguably. But, of course, that was on round 2, of course. But anyways, yeah, I don't think Jimmy Flick was a southpaw, nor does it matter. I went back to watch his fight again for like the umpteenth time with Carlos Mota, who was not a southpaw. And Royval, he did fight a southpaw. Royval, he lost to. So yeah, he is. So I just got to see if anything outside of the Royval fight, in other words, as far as being 0-1 to UFC level southpaws. He did fight Jose Johnson in the amateurs, who was scheduled for a UFC fight, didn't happen, and fought on Contender Series, but I'm pretty sure that guy was an orthodox fighter too, even though that's already a hell of a stretch to try to include that. Let's see what he opened as. I'll probably side with Charles Johnson anyways, lean, for sure. We'll see where I end up, but yeah, curious where that line was at. Carl Deaton plus 410, Deaton-Solecki plus 520 or minus 520. Was this even a matchup that was supposed to be happening? Like, why is it that stacked? Or is it just they're just throwing shit at the wall here? Let's see who Deaton-Solecki was supposed to fight. Benoit Saint Denis a week ago. So I guess that makes sense. And they bring in Carl Deaton on short notice, so that's probably that. I don't know, like, again, if I was able to do like parlaying, shout out to my guy Clint, like this would be like a sub special. I would be like doing like Muniz by sub, maybe like Suarez by sub, and you do like Solecki by sub, maybe swap out maybe like a Leavitt if that's where you're you get a nice number on it, and that's where your analysis takes you. But yeah, I wish I could do some of those like fun like sub-special props like my guy Clint does, because again, I don't play in houses that allow me to even parlay props. Forget the round robin. Again, if only, folks. If only. Of course, your boy gotta go the hard way. All right. Didn't look at this fight. Narullo Aliev minus 180. Rafael-Alves plus 155. Actually, probably going to be a fun fight to worth looking at, but it's buried so below that I don't get to it, of course, as per usual. And we'll probably be on my way home and still showering, training and something, and miss it anyways, because I'm trying to actually have a real life over here. Aylin Perez plus 110. Haley Cowan minus 130. Looks like it did a complete line flip. Seeing a bunch of people on Aylin Perez, so hoping you guys are right. But again, low-level WMMA fight. Let's go and flip the line. Please tell me there was a short notice fighter on here as well. Maybe not. Maybe there's actually a good reason for it. Either way, I'm not trying to hate. I'm rooting for my friends that are betting it. I'm just saying, like, this is the shit that we live and die for on these Twitter streets. Garrett Armfield versus Jose Johnson no longer on the card, so that saves me that. All right, I'm going to have to add in these timestamps later. We went over 2 hours, long show, and I probably will have turned everybody off in the beginning. So if you were those who had those comments, which were fair and fine, and I appreciate your listenership, you guys were awesome. Don't worry, you're right. But yes, if you had those comments, we're like, the fuck is this show? This guy talks so long, even though I'm one of the few that actually like timestamps and says you can go skip ahead and gives you even like a recap so you don't have to listen to any me if you want to. But hey, okay. I definitely deserve all the shade for that, for the bets, for everything. I just suck. So I'm going to go quickly clean up the chat, and then we will I'll recap picks and plays, and we'll get the fuck out of here. Mark Fellows, he always cheers me up. Look at my smile. Jake Matthews in the house. Jake Matthews. Tyson Pedro. He's a, what, yeah, you're doing well, Jake, and staying away from the pedophiles. Yeah, pedophiles, yeah. Pedophiles. Poking at your chest with the pedophiles there. Watch out for them. But Mark Fellows is a good man, enjoying the beer and the Korean barbecue. This lovely lady enjoying life. I had some bad cancer news that or shitty cancer news or just whatever. But dude, fucking Mark Fellows, fucking dude had some good cancer news recently. He's been reading between the lines. That guy's been going through it, but you would never tell because he's so fucking positive and loving, and just deserves everything good. Shouts to him. Rain Lamina. Is Dan Tom the James Krause of betting the house? I am not the James Krause of anything. And even without James Krause, there is no betting the house. With my bad luck, you kidding me, Rain Lamina? Appreciate you, by the way, sir. Kazar Rafael-Alves deserves a main card spot here. You see, I agree, and I feel awful for not getting to get to his fight. But as you can see, there's just so much crap to cut through. And the UFC clearly doesn't care. Yet here I am trying to care and beating myself up for not doing the job. But he says, yeah, Rafael-Alves deserves a main spot. I really hope the UFC keeps him regardless of this outcome. Yeah, I think so too. He's a really fun fighter. Liam picks fights. Muniz sub 1 is 13-15 career sub wins. Yeah, that's right. 13 out of 15 career sub wins. Muniz sub 1. Okay. All right. I feel better if I'm on the side of my guy Liam. Kazar, Dan, I hope you're having a great night and a great day tomorrow. I appreciate you. Thank you. I really hope I have a great day tomorrow, too, because I'm taking my dog Benjamin again for his latest cancer checkup on the latest lumps and stuff. So let's... He's doing... Again, he's showing all the will and effort, this and that. I just, shouts to... I don't want to make anybody sad listening, but shouts to a dog listener of the show, if you will, Turk. And all the other dogs and anyone else that has a dog that's gone through this stuff. It's inevitable, but this shit can happen quicker than we'd like to. And not to bring up something personal for someone else or anything like that, or trigger anybody else, but listener of this show would walk one of the, again, I think Benji Boy here is the greatest dog. We all have great dogs. One of the greatest dogs ever, this dog Turk. One of my friends listening to the show goes on dog walks for certain fights, and would go on dog walks for certain fights. And I think in effort to just not let this UFC schedule control any more of my fucking life than it already does, and to spend to maybe hopefully lessen that little bits of regret in case I have any when my boy passes, spend more time with him. I'm going to be doing walks during fight cards. Since I don't get to watch this shit live anyways, I'm just going to making sure that fights that I really give a shit about. I probably won't do it during Alves Aliev, but yeah, I'm going to be taking my dog Benjamin and Brownie for walks in honor of Big T. So, shouts to anybody out there who's lost animals. Shouts to cancer survivors and all that. This show is for you guys, if anybody, right? Shoulder crunch and pinch the headlock from Neil's instructional, which is really good. Ghost Phantom knows what I'm talking about. Glad that it didn't go out the window. Mushroom MMA. Muniz sub round 2. I am with you, buddy. I am with you. There. Jimmy Kudo, inside trip on the overhook side, outside foot sweep on the underhook side, riverside for the East Coast guys. Love it. Love those notes, Jimmy Kudo. Really good notes there, my man. Look at you guys. Oh my God, Mushroom MMA in the house. That's right. All right. Jack Slack timestamps. He's back. Cheers, Dan. False recap accusations. BJJ instructional by Craig Jones. Bless. Whatever that means. I read it too fast to comprehend. All right. Mark Fellows says, apologies for missing the UFC 285 breakdown. This time next week, I'll be on a plane to Bali. You deserve it, Mark. Enjoy your trip to Bali. Kazar says, I'm now scared for Alves. It will be sad if he loses to the new Tajik guy. Yeah, he's a fun guy. We'll see what happens there. I hate tee-ups like this. It's clear that Suarez is getting a layup. I'm hoping Montana can pull it off because of the manipulative BS. Yeah, I hate this matchup for her too, even though I'm betting for her to lose. Obviously, a little torn there because I'm a Montana-De La Rosa fan. And wish her and her family nothing but the best. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. We've been here way too long. Sorry. By the way, was MMA decisions down for people this week, or was that just me? But yeah, okay, so Bellator 291, we're taking Amosov by decision. No other breakdown for the rest of that. No picks or plays for any of the rest of the card. Apologies. UFC Fight Night 220, UFC Vegas 70. Taking Krylov over Spann. Taking Muniz over Allen. Taking Sakai over Mayes. Taking Suarez over De La Rosa. Taking Malott over, well, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Check my quick picks for the Sakai-Mayes. Check my quick picks for Malott-Lianesse, but I'll probably lean toward Mike Malott. Who knows who I'll take for Trevor Peek versus Eric Gonzalez. Check me, at Dan Tom MMA on Fight Day, where I always post all my picks and plays as per usual for free. Leaning toward, taking Jasudivicius over MMA Gambler's hot thing this week, Fernandes. Leaning toward Leavitt over Martinez, see where I end up. Definitely rooting for Leavitt. Probably will take Johnson over Osbourne, but you might want to double check there. Probably will take Solecki over Deaton. Want to double check me at Dan Tom MMA on Fight Day to see what I finalize on there. Same for Aliev over Alves. Heart will be with Alves regardless if I pick him. Check me at Dan Tom MMA to see what my pick is there. Who knows? Who cares between Ali and Perez and Haley-Cowan? But again, check me on Fight Day. Thank God we had a cancellation, although I hope everything is okay for Armfield and Johnson. The only plays, which might be my only plays, we'll see if I like anything else. Muniz by sub plus 135, 3/4 units. Round 2 sub Muniz plus 600 with a .17 sprinkle. The other play, Suarez inside the distance plus 115, one with a sprinkle on 1-3 at 1,000. .17 units. That's all I got. Thank you guys for joining me. Sorry for these long episodes. My ranting ass. MMA decisions is still down for you. Thanks for getting back to me on that. Kazar, I guess I'm not going crazy or being conspiratized against. Not that I thought that. You know what I mean. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised with anything, really. Sorry about the fucking emotional bullshit in the beginning. I don't deserve listeners because of that, so I don't blame you for dropping off or talking shit on me for that. Or any of the other multitude reasons. Let's just try to keep it creative. Try to at least keep it fun. And keep it, at the person and, not family members, the religion, sexual, all the bullshit stuff. Just, I don't know. Do whatever the fuck you want. Just, I don't know. A little bit of class wouldn't hurt. This place, this dirty, filthy fucking place that I hate. But I as much as I hate it, as much as gambling has killed my love for this game, I do love you guys as listeners. I don't know why you're here, but I appreciate you. Go have a good week. Good luck on your picks and plays. And always protect your neck.